another movie show. This week we will be reviewing the three movies Zodiac, Fight Club, and Seven, all David Fincher Neo-Noirs. My name is Justin, joining me as Wyatt. Later in the show, maybe we may be being joined by Aiden, depending if he is able to join us.
We'll see.
Now, what was that?
Well, we'll see,
Yeah, we'll see. I figured we do it chronologically, so we'll start with the movie Seven.
Seven.
Starring Brad Pitt as Detective David Mills, Morgan Freeman, God,
Morgan Freeman.
as Morgan as William Somerset.
Yep. Yes.
And for those of you who have seen the movie, Kevin Spacey as John Doe. Now, because this is a movie show, we will be spoiling some of the movie for minor plot things.
Okay.
Now, what do you think of the movie?
It's a good movie. It's definitely it's a classic. It's the kind of movie that, is everybody should see. I think it's pretty good.
All right. I really enjoy Seven. It's one of the David Fincher with his movies. It's one of the few directors I really feel uncomfortable watching his movies. They really get to me, and especially with the movie Seven, where it's about the serial killer who kills people based on, the seven deadly sins.
Mm-hmm,
and because how mysterious they make it and how they never give a name to the killer, it makes it more terrifying.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of, David Fincher films, the ones that we're reviewing at least,
Yeah.
are very open-ended.
Mm-hmm.
They end very, they just kind of end.
Yeah.
Which is okay. They're good. They work ending like that, so why not?
And a couple themes in the movie where you have fear naturally because it's kind of it's a horror. It's a horror film in some of the sense of the word because you don't know what's going to happen. It's very gruesome. A lot of action. It's kind of the new design for film noir, but it's neo-noir because it's newer.
Right.
Obsession, where they obsess over this serial killer. Where kind of you see in the movie where Somerset, Morgan Freeman, he stops sleeping. He kind of just gets angry at this killer.
Yeah. And later when we talk about Zodiac,
Yes.
it's very much similar. Very similar.
Yeah, something I noticed in these three movies, some of the key things were, obsession, addiction, pretty much in those two things mainly.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Definitely agree. So yes.
Man, this is becoming so interesting.
So,
This is fun.
we'll just go over the plot, maybe?
Yeah. So the
So
plot,
quick.
if you have never seen this movie, it's about a serial killer who kills people under the seven deadly sins, and it kind of takes place in this dystopian city, kind of like I think it's kind of based off kind of the New York or kind of
It's
any
kind
major
of New
city.
York, Chicago-ish.
Yeah, a little bit of Detroit, and the two main characters, Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt, are cops who are just assigned to, kind of capture this guy and
Right.
find
And
him.
also something I found interesting is Morgan Freeman's character is actually going to retire in 7 days, is what he says at the beginning, which is the first mention of the just 7,
Yep.
which I thought was interesting.
Because he's that classic older cop. Where it's he's 1 week from retiring. Because that's every cop movie now, and really from all time. It's a very important point to cop movies now.
Right.
There must
We're
be
not
an
gonna.
older detective who is retiring in 7 days.
Yeah. Really not. No spoilers, but the ending scene is quite famous. And it's very good. I actually, watching this movie, I'd heard that the line that they used at the end of that movie, but near the end at least, one of the lines I used before, but I did not know that it was from this movie.
What's in a box?
Yes.
Where Brad Pitt is going crazy. What's
Yeah.
in the box?
It's so good. It's like a Nick Cage-esque kind of performance that he gives.
They could replace Brad Pitt with Nicolas Cage for that one scene, and no one would notice any difference.
It'd be very good. That'd be good. And Kevin Spacey, I like.
Oh, he was
he was
terrifying.
Man, Kevin Spacey plays a very good villain.
Oh, have you in The Usual Suspects? He's
Yes.
also as terrifying as he is in Seven.
I
He's so calm and
Kevin Spacey really plays two things really well, and that's like serial killers and high up businessmen.
so pretty much the two roles you may know him from.
Yeah.
House of Cards and Seven. No, because he plays a great anti-hero or villain.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's really more villain than anti-hero in this movie, but I know in a lot of them, like House of Cards, he's very anti-hero. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my neighbor is Kevin Spacey. He looks exactly like him. I'm about 95% sure that that's my neighbor.
Yeah, that's man.
Yeah.
Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
So that's that movie, and we'll get more into it later.
Yeah.
So now let's move into the next one, which would be Fight Club. I guess would be the next.
Do you want to take this one?
It's 1999. Yes. Fight Club is a film based off of the novel Fight Club, which I have not read, but apparently is okay.
Neither have I. I haven't read it either. Apparently, the novel is so much more screwed up than the movie, because with movies they have like this line where like the line of rated R and NC-17, because if you're NC-17, it's kind of like a death wish on your movie, and with books there's no line. It's pretty much just how screwed up of a book can they write, pretty much.
Yeah. I agree. And so this movie is about this unnamed protagonist played by Edward Norton, who is just a regular dude. He's kind of fed up with his job, and he's going on a business trip, and he meets Brad Pitt, Tyler Durden, who is a soap maker, and he meets him on this plane, and when he gets off the plane, he goes to his apartment and finds that there has been an explosion in his apartment, and he doesn't know who else to turn to, and he turns to this guy he just met on a plane, and things kind of just spiral out of control from there. It's frankly, it's an amazing film, and it's another one of those films that is like, you need to see this movie if you have not. It's very good.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about this movie was it has one of those themes where you don't see very much in a lot of movies, which is anti-capitalism. They're very against material objects. They're very against kind of the idea of what people should be. Like in the scene where they're on the bus, and I believe it was the narrator who says to Tyler, "Is that what you picture as a man?" And they're pointing to, I believe, a Calvin Klein model.
Right. Yes. Yeah, and it's very interesting, but it's also interesting in the sense that maybe that a notion isn't executed very well in this context, because it does not end very well for this main character. So yeah, and that's Fight Club, which I don't really have much more to say because it's everybody should have seen Fight Club.
Yeah,
it's an amazing movie. And there's really not much you can talk about without giving away the plot. And of course, with the title Fight Club, these two characters, Tyler Durden and the narrator, who does not have a name, they start Fight Club, and that becomes something much greater.
We'll go into this a little bit later when we start discussing the understandings of these movies. And of course, the last one, Zodiac. 2007, is about the Zodiac killer who terrorized San Francisco and that area in the mid to late 1960s.
Real life events.
Real story.
I'm very interested in this because I just love things like this, kind of mysteries that are real. And it's so crazy, really. Yeah. Never caught. Never, they had a couple suspects, but really most of those were ruled out. Yeah. But this film, starring Jake Gyllenhaal
as Robert Graysmith, who wrote the novel Zodiac, which is he wrote a few Zodiac books. I think there's about 5 or 6. Mark Ruffalo as Detective Dave Torchy.
Yes.
And Robert Downey Jr. Perfectly playing Paul Avery.
It's very good.
that because Robert Downey Jr. he's very sarcastic and he's very cocky in his roles, which makes him so amazing because just he fits the character so well. Because in the movie, in the beginning of the movie, he is a journalist and he's the best in the business and he's becomes nothing can break him. And then the Zodiac case comes around and he slowly becomes more obsessed. Both Jake Gyllenhaal and Robert Downey Jr.'s characters both become very obsessed with him.
Yeah,
Robert
it's
Downey Jr.
another
becoming an alcoholic and a drug addict in the movie. Not so different from real life. And then of course they discover Arthur Lee Allen, who I believe was the closest person claiming as a Zodiac.
That is like who they were decided on. That is their main suspect. Sadly, he died of a heart attack, and he actually later DNA evidence has cleared him of the crimes.
Really, I did not know that.
Yes,
Wow.
Which is crazy. And yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal, who I love Jake Gyllenhaal. I think he is very nice, and I think his voice is very cute.
I love what that's you're taking out of him. Actually, Jake Gyllenhaal, I haven't seen a lot of movies with him.
I love him.
I kind of figured he was kind of that romantic comedy guy. I don't know. That's really all I've heard of him.
Right.
But so I didn't think he'd be that great in the movie. He was incredible in the movie.
He's been in a couple very interesting movies such as this that are very good, like Donnie Darko. Of course.
Of course.
Which is amazing. I love Donnie Darko. Maybe we can talk about that.
Haven't seen it.
We can talk about that in a different
that'll be
maybe
some other point in time.
And actually, his most recent one, Nightcrawler, which is amazing, very good. Have you seen that one?
I have not. I've seen parts. I've seen different clips of it on YouTube. And I was meaning to see it. I just never got to it, unfortunately. Where he plays kind of something similar. He becomes obsessed with celebrities, and in this he becomes he kind of turns the Zodiac into a celebrity in his mind.
Right. Jake Gyllenhaal. Yeah, I could talk about just Jake Gyllenhaal for an episode, really.
I could talk about
I love him, and I love Brokeback Mountain. Anyways,
with the great late Heath Ledger.
Oh yeah, rest in peace. We can.
Yeah, he actually died. His death anniversary was, I believe, 7 years ago, from the 22nd of January.
Was it really that long ago? Wow.
Yeah, because it was around the time of The Dark Knight.
It was right when that movie came out. He died.
He won an Oscar for that.
Yeah, he did, but he was already dead, so they buried him with it. That isn't true, but maybe it is. I just made it up.
Don't dismiss anything.
Anyways.
Yeah.
This is another very good film. Another example of things, they spiral out of control, and after,
all in their own ways too.
Right. Yes. Absolutely. But they, things spiral out of control. They spiral into something that is maybe I wouldn't say greater than what it actually is, because it's very much how it should be, considering the scale of a lot of things that do happen in these films. It's definitely they do definitely spiral out of control for the main characters, though.
Sorry, I'm laughing for some random reason. Yeah, but that's something I definitely noticed in these three movies was the spiraling out of control over the bad guy in all these movies. With Seven, it's John Doe in Fight Club. It kind of becomes spiraling out of control.
Yes. And
spiraling out of control because he hates his life. The narrator speaking, he hates his life, and he hates how it's become, and Tyler Turton kind of shows him the way, and so he kind of becomes obsessed with Tyler and how he lives. And in Zodiac, it's the Zodiac because before they never truly found out who it was, so it becomes more terrifying watching it because they feel like they need to know who he is. They both Robert Graysmith and Paul Avery both lost their jobs because they become so obsessed.
Well, not only their jobs, but
no, they both lost their jobs.
They lost their jobs, but they also lost their whole life.
Well, Robert Graysmith kind of regained his life after.
Yes, that's true. But I mean, for the moment when he was doing all this research, his wife left him, took all the kids. It was a big thing.
She didn't want her kids to see it.
Right.
And Paul Avery becomes a drug addict, alcoholic, who died about 15, 20 years ago from a heart attack, or
I think it was actually it was of a heart attack.
Something like that.
He lived on a boat.
He did live on a boat. That was actually really funny. Yeah. But it probably wasn't funny him needing to move on a boat, but it was like, oh, he lives on a boat. That's kind of random.
Yeah. There's actually a part where, they're talking about, like, oh, what happened to this and this? And Robert Downey Jr. goes, I live on a boat. And it's like, that's a good point, Yeah. He lives on a boat.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Those are those movies.
Well, the thing with David Fincher movies is because they're so mysterious, that's why they make me feel uncomfortable. Like the scene where Jake Gyllenhaal, I almost call him Ryan Gosling, get them confused for some reason.
I think have they been in a movie together?
I'm sure they have been.
Because I want to watch that movie, and I hope it's.
Let's find that movie, yeah. and so when he's in that film collector's basement, and not knowing a ton about the Zodiac story before watching that movie, I didn't know if that's who they thought it was. So with a mixture of it being in a dark basement, the guy being a little distant, and then hearing footsteps upstairs, I was so convinced that he was going to murder him because just the situation.
Right.
I felt like uncomfortable watching the movie, and which is something that David Fincher does greatly in his movies. Mm-hmm. He really gets into the mind of the viewer, which unfortunately a lot of directors now don't do as well.
Yes. It's very good though.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Now moving on.
Yes.
Let's just talk about the, connection similarities. We've already touched on a lot of them. Mm-hmm. But, similarities, common themes in all three of these movies. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We've already talked about these, but, you said obsession and...
Addiction.
Addiction, yes.
And a little bit of mental illness in the way of some of the characters are, kind of like in Seven, he's clearly a sociopath. The Zodiac was clearly a sociopath, and yes. Edward Norton he's claiming to be an insomniac. Turns out he is schizophrenic, but in the way that he is, kind of sociopathic is he has created a new person that he talks to, and he
right.
And he sees and he believes it's real, and you see later in the movie that that's not real at all. That's just kind of just him doing things by himself.
Right.
And if this is the kind of movie you need to watch twice, the first time so you learn the ending of it, then when you watch it again, you understand it more. Like when he's talking to Marla, Helena Bonham Carter's character, where one morning when where the narrator is eating breakfast, she comes downstairs and he asks her, "What are you doing in my house? Why are you here? How'd you find me?" And she's so offended, but you don't understand why she's offended until you watch it again. It's like, that's why she's offended because he was Tyler.
Yeah,
Sorry, it's a movie podcast.
Some spoilers. Yeah, there's gonna be spoilers. You get to the end of the film, all these things are revealed, and there it is. Everything kind of makes sense. You're like, this is why this happened, and this is why this happened. Which is very interesting. Definitely as a movie, it does do one thing, which is, it kind of reduces. It does two things, where it reduces replayability values. Mm-hmm. It also kind of increases it for a couple times, but in the end, you're like, I already know what's gonna happen, kind of thing,
Mm-hmm. Actually, fun fact about Fight Club: before you actually see Tyler on the airplane, you see him in a few different places. The first place is every single scene before the airplane scene where where the narrator meets Tyler. There is one shot. It's one frame, one film cell of Tyler just in and out like that.
Yes,
And
this is true.
it's kind of like a fun thing to look out for if you were to watch it. Another scene is when the narrator is watching the kind of the hotel, like, oh, this is what we have at the hotel. The restaurant thing is you see Tyler or you see Brad Pitt in the corner, like saying welcome.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So little fun fact.
And it's almost like, was he even on that plane, or was he entirely, in his mind?
Well, what I noticed after watching it a few times was the first part you see him on the plane, and he's talking to the older woman, and it doesn't show him getting on or off the plane. It doesn't say if it's a different flight or not. But all of a sudden, Tyler's there.
Mm-hmm.
So my guess is he envisioned he envisioned the old woman as Tyler, kind of give him a body almost.
Right.
So yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Mm. So yeah. Also another fun fact that I found this to be hilarious because where they said it. The scene where Tyler and Marla are having sex, and when Marla says, "Well, I haven't been fucked like that since grade school," apparently they shot that scene in a church rec room, which makes that line so much more funny.
Wow.
So,
It's very interesting.
It's like probably one of the worst things they say in the movie.
Yeah.
In a church.
That's wow. It's very interesting.
Yeah. I find that funny just because because what the line is and where they actually say it.
Mm-hmm. This is, of course, of the three movies, this one does feature unreliable narrator, which is a trope that I hate, but I'm very used to,
Wait, what do you mean unreliable narrator?
Unreliable narrator is when a narrator in film or whatever has credibility that's not very good,
Oh, so like how in so most narrators, since they will just kind of tell you through the movie, this narrator, because
Right.
he was the main character, just did not, since he didn't know what was going on, it was kind of like that.
It's kind of like they didn't know what's going on, but it's more like they purposely leave things out or tell things differently for from their point of view and experience. That's not necessarily exactly what happened,
Got it.
And there's a couple different kinds, but yeah, that's okay. Yeah, but unreliable narrator is a trope. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of don't like it. That's okay though.
Awesome.
Moving on.
Next, we shall talk about Seven.
Seven, yeah.
Now, Seven is with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, as I say for the fifth time probably. Now, with this movie, mental illness, fear, and obsession were the key themes, and a little bit of religion because it was based on the seven deadly sins.
Right. Seven deadly sins, kind of like. Yes.
And I do not know them. Do you know them?
I do know them. They are
share them?
gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, pride, lust, and envy.
Ah, got it. And now, with this movie, I don't. It was just like the way because they shot it. A lot of it was in the rain, or just it was kind of like it was made darker almost.
Yeah,
like,
it was
when you
very
watch
rainy.
It's like tinted almost.
Yeah.
Which I guess gives it more of an edge.
It was a very good movie.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it. A lot of they had a very good style,
Mm-hmm. Kind of
with-
it was kind of like the new way of neo-noir. So it's neo-noir.
Very kind of drab, dreary. It's always raining. The beginning with the Nine Inch Nails song, of course, is very good. That kind of set it up as this kind of thing. And even you look at the the actual poster, the cover of this movie, and then you can look at the cover of the album that song is on. They're very similar, which is interesting.
I don't think I've ever seen the cover of the album.
I'll find it and
I can look it up.
It's on The Downward Spiral by Nine Inch Nails. Yeah. Which I think that's the album. But it's very
Oh, that's actually very similar to how.
yeah, very very similar. And they
The movie poster being, or at least the one I've seen, was you see Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman's face, but like there's like a shadow cutting both their faces in half almost.
right.
So, and the album cover, as I've just seen, is like it's a white background with just paint on it.
Yeah, it's kind of white. It's kind of dirty. Just like that one, kind of.
Yep. And now with this movie, again, the fear technique that David Fincher does so well was the one point I want to touch was that I think is probably one of my favorite parts that kind of made me feel terrified was when they go to the guy's apartment after finding his fingerprints at the lawyer's office.
Yes.
Or the district attorney, and they see him, and you think he's dead, and he just wakes up to find out he was tied to his bed for a year.
Yes.
And you see just the condition he's in, just bed sores. He's just like there's just nothing left of him. There's just, and he just he's in, I don't know.
Yeah, that of course is it's very good. It's very creepy, but it also has kind of a jump scare kind of element.
Yeah.
The cop played by the guy who
From Scrubs played Dr. Cox.
Yeah.
John C. something.
John C. McGinley.
I love him. He was great in Scrubs.
Yeah, I love Scrubs, but he's in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And he leans in. He's like whispering in this presumably dead man's ear, and
you got what you deserved.
Right, and he wakes up and he is thrashing about and he cannot say anything. He's screaming. He does not have a tongue though.
Yeah, because as they go into it, it's like because he ate his tongue out.
Yes, he has chewed his tongue off,
which is
what they say.
Just terrifying if you think about it.
Yes, and moving from that, moving along to Zodiac.
Yep.
Zodiac, same themes. Prominent.
Obsession, addiction, mental illness. Those are very common themes with these. It's what David Fincher kind of does. Like he does like two types of movies. He does movies like Curious Case of Benjamin Button, which is very they're dramas, but they're not terrifying. They're not very action based. They're kind of it's
of course
very story driven. Which really in all of his movies. Then he does his neo-noirs like Zodiac, Fight Club, Seven. I believe Gone Girl is kind of like that too.
Yeah, it is very similar. That's why I brought it up. I would say it would fall in that genre, but because it came out so recently, we're not going to do it today.
No, we haven't watched those yet.
Yes, I saw it in theaters actually.
Huh? Have you?
And it was an interesting experience, in which all the lights in the theater went off except the light that was directly above me. So I was entirely spotlighted the whole entire movie, and it was super bizarre. Special? It was really hot too.
Sure.
I'd yeah.
Go wow.
Yeah, I stripped down into my underwear. No, but yes, and of course Zodiac. This main character, Robert Graysmith, Jake Gyllenhaal, is he is a cartoonist, and he's very upbeat. He's very happy, and he's described as he's a Boy Scout.
Yeah, he besides him actually being a Boy Scout when he was a kid, it was like he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, which he later does in the movie. After doing more research about the Zodiac. But he's a very straight arrow, clean cut. he is a divorced father of a son because, why not?
Yeah, yeah. And this is a little bit different because it is actually, these are real people based upon real things, which it's still very good, but it doesn't give nearly as much room for creative, kind of very interesting dynamics,
Yep.
because these are real people. You cannot, and they aren't changed, which I'm glad that it's very true.
And the one thing that actually thinking about it, another thing I just realized was in his movies the two main characters are always going to be polar opposites. Zodiac with Robert Graysmith and Paul Avery. Robert Graysmith was a straight arrow, doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, clean cut guy, and then Paul Avery, very rugged, cursed, drank like a fox. I don't really know.
A sailor?
Yeah, that's
Curse like a sailor.
Curse like a sailor. I don't really know. Drink like a fountain, I guess.
Like I don't know. Who drinks a lot?
Drink like a fish. That's what I'm looking for. Because fish drink.
Sure.
And
They don't.
and he smoked, like chain smoked, pretty much like and then the one scene that kind of like ties them together was when they're getting a drink at a bar and Paul Avery gets like a beer or a scotch or something like that.
He gets a
scotch. And then Robert Graysmith gets like a blue fishbowl something.
Oh, what does he say? It is. Oh,
this thing's so funny.
Yeah, it's very good. And then they're drinking them together.
No, he said what kind of fruity drink is that? And then he replies by saying, "You wouldn't be saying that if you had one."
Yeah.
And then it just cuts to them at a table. There's like 10 of them, empty glasses.
Yeah.
So
yes.
I thought that was kind of like their bonding moment, as like every movie does. And with 7, Morgan Freeman is this old rugged cop. He's seen everything, and Brad Pitt is this cocky new detective.
Yes. Well, yeah, he's been transferred from another.
I think he was from narcotics, and he wanted to switch to murder.
Maybe.
Some of different jurisdiction.
I have no
and
idea.
Then
yeah.
Fight Club, same thing. Edward Norton, the narrator, plays a clean-cut, boring guy at a boring job.
Yes.
Tyler Durden, this rugged, oddly dressed. It's kind of just whatever he wants, and so they're very different. And I guess I think their bonding moment was actually kind of odd, which was when Tyler grabs the narrator's hand and pours acid on it for a burn. And I think that kind of bonded them, kind of saying like, but when Tyler kind of pretty much was saying, "You're in this now with me. Now you know pain. Try and live in the moment with me."
Yeah, it gives him a chemical burn, which is of course the name of my band.
Oh, really? I thought it was just terrible.
Yeah, it is. So yes, there you go.
Yeah.
And with movies such as these, they're very popular movies. People have seen them a lot. There's really not much we can say that hasn't been said before. But that's okay, because they are really such good movies that I haven't really seen anything like them.
No, not at all.
At least not like Fight Club. Zodiac has a couple, ones that are a lot like that. And 7 is also one that's very rarely done like that.
Yeah. Not a lot of movies touch on that type of religious terrorism in the way that he put his beliefs into the way he killed.
Right.
A lot of them you'll see like religious terrorism. You'll see the ones about the wars in the Middle East because they say it's religious terrorism, even though it's not really religious terrorism. It's kind of just terrorism.
Right.
This is it where he's a religious serial killer, which is not as common in movies, where because he quotes the Bible a lot when they raid his apartment. He has Bible verses. He has like everything that's been written in the Bible, like just written down and rewritten, and there's crosses all over his apartment.
Yeah, there's notebooks. He has like 2,000 notebooks. And they say Yeah, it's just his thoughts, all of his
Yeah.
thoughts poured onto paper.
Well, yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It was that movie was. I think that was the first David Fincher movie I've seen. I first saw it maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, and seeing it then and seeing it now, very different perspectives on it. Seeing it then, I didn't really know how to think of it. I watched it and it was it was absolutely terrifying. At first, I had to watch it. Then I had to watch something else. I think I watched like Ocean's 11 because it's like a palate cleanser.
Right.
It's just the polar opposites. Like because I wanted to sleep that night, so I need to watch something else.
I actually watched this movie a couple days ago, very late at night, and maybe I am
Why?
just fucked up, but I just slept like a baby. Let me tell you, I was like, I'm
You
fine,
might
whatever.
be a sociopath.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I just fell asleep, because I'm like, that's not real. But then we have,
Oh well.
which is weird because I watched Zodiac and Seven back to back,
Oh.
which is me saying that's not real.
But Zodiac, that was real.
Zodiac is 100% real.
But I think Zodiac was a lot less gory. It was
Yes, that's
Seven
true.
was very gory. Zodiac is more into the mind of a serial killer.
Yeah, Zodiac. I was talking to my friend a couple days ago, and
That's funny.
nice, and I said, in the movie they're like, oh, Zodiac, he's a big movie fan. He likes movies, and I was like, hey, do you think if the Zodiac killer, if he's still alive, do you think he's seen the movie Zodiac?
And what do you think his reaction of it was?
Right.
I think he's watching. He's like, nope, that didn't happen. That was not me. How dare they put that on me?
And
No, I need to call the writer right now. Wait, no, I can't call the writer.
Yeah.
The Zodiac.
Personally, I don't think that that happened. I don't think he would be still alive.
No, I'd be
because-
very surprised if he was. Actually, a lot of the characters in real life, they're in their 80s, 70s, and 80s now.
Right.
So I'm guessing the Zodiac is probably dead.
Yeah.
Because he was saying how he did time in several different prisons, which aren't the cleanest places. So I'd be very surprised if he was still alive.
Yeah, definitely.
But just imagine the letter to the writer, because he wrote letters. It's like, this is the Zodiac speaking, and I'm deeply offended by this movie.
Well, you would think he would have contacted the actual man, the gray man. What's his name?
Graysmith.
Graysmith, yes, Robert Graysmith.
Well, I don't
forgot
know,
his name.
but in the
Very
end of the movie,
unfortunate.
when they're saying like all the things, oh, this is what happened after this.
Yes.
When they said after Arthur Lee Allen died, their primary suspect, Graysmith stopped receiving calls,
Yes.
like the random calling, then
Yeah.
then click. So that's why I do believe that it was Arthur Lee Allen, because for one thing, when he died, the harassment stopped. A lot of things do point to him, how he was ambidextrous, but they couldn't really match his writing to anything, because he
Right.
wrote with one hand, and then he wrote the letters with the other hand. Then his watch was a Zodiac watch with that symbol, which I guess could be like a kind of a broad thing, because I don't know if Zodiac is still a big company now. I know in the '60s it was a very big company.
Yeah. I don't know, but I totally agree, and that being their symbol, I was kind of surprised that they weren't like, it's a watch.
Yeah. Well, it must have not been that big if they didn't think, oh, Zodiac, oh, that's what that symbol is. We should have thought of that at the beginning.
Right. Yeah. So, I don't know.
And
That film did make me want to buy a watch.
I knew it. That movie wasn't about the Zodiac. It was about buying watches.
Oh, that's how
Solve the Zodiac
that's
murders.
how they get you.
They just, put it in the movies and make you watch them.
Yep. Yes. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Also, one other thing to add. In the end of Zodiac, when they're interviewing the guy who got shot in the beginning of the movie,
Yes.
first of all, the guy's on Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I know. He
He's
is.
such a funny show.
I did
He
not.
plays
I
like
was.
that inbred
Yeah, he plays.
incest brother.
He plays one of the
The Doyle
McPoyle,
brothers.
The McPoyle brothers. Yeah.
Yeah, McDoyle. And he did ID Arthur Leon as the guy who shot him. So
Yes.
that's why I do believe it
Yes.
is also Arthur Leon, because he was seen.
He was ID'd. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
We solved it.
Solved the Zodiac killers. It was the CEO of the Zodiac company.
Oh my god. That would... Whoa.
If that was true...
It was all a
First of all,
publicity stunt.
if that was true, Robert Graysmith would be at our door and saying, kind of slapping us, like, it's like, how dare you? That's my life's work.
That's America. You know?
Solved this. 2 16-year-olds did it.
Anyways, so yeah, there you go. That, yeah. Movies.
Yeah. Movies, yeah. Next show, we are unaware of the date. We will be watching classic musicals, and these musicals will be Mary Poppins, West Side Story, The Wizard of Oz, Singing in the Rain, and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
The original.
The original one, not that new one with Michael Jackson.
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp as Michael Jackson as Willy Wonka.
I like Johnny Depp.
Yeah. I like Johnny Depp too, but not in that movie.
Okay. So there you go. That's what we will be doing.
Yep.
Next
we will keep the channel posted with when we'll be doing that show, because as of now, the next 2 weeks we will not be able to record on the same night due to traveling things.
Yes. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining. Hopefully next show Aiden will be joining us. You'll get to hear his smooth, crackly voice.
Oh wow. Okay. So yeah. Signing off.
Signing off.